Hey, it's Adele from Let's Get Inkie, and I'm up in my traveler's notebook today. I'm getting through and I'm close to the middle, which it's a good sign. It makes me feel good when I get to the middle of an art journal or a notebook or something like that, because it makes me feel like the end is possible. Does anyone else get that feeling? I am I'm scrap journaling a big photo today. I usually don't use photos as big as this. If this is your first journaling video that you've tuned in of mine, I have 24 other process videos up and a flip through of my previous insert if you'd like to have a look at that. I am using a big 4x6 photo today and the October Pocket Life kit from Citrus Twist, and I haven't done this before either. I made a little pocket. So there was this piece of ephemera in the exclusive embellishments that came in the kit, and it just screamed to me, make me a pocket. And all I did was just put some double-sided tape around 3 of the edges, and I tucked in a tag, which I may or may not go back and do some journaling on the back of it. And I also tucked in a little leafy frond thing that I thought looked cute just poking out. I'm using this opportunity while I'm using this kind of autumny yellow toned photo to try and use up some of the yellow embellishments in this month's kit, just because I'm not a yellow person usually, so I'd rather leave things that I'm more likely to use for other pages and use the yellow ones while I've got the inspiration to. I grabbed my Tombow dual brush marker and I'm just doing a bit of brush lettering here. I really love this colour. It's like a periwinkle blue, and I'll tell you what, once you start buying these Tombow markers, this is not sponsored at all, I've bought all of these. They're about $8 or $9 each here in Australia, which is not nice on the wallet, but as soon as you buy one, it's very hard to stop. I braved the art shop today, the day that I'm recording this voiceover, and I managed to walk out with no Tombows. Actually, no, I lie. I got a brush marker Tombow, like a black skinnier one, but I did, however, walk out with about 10 new paint pens. It's a habit that I just like markers and paint pens. Let me know in the comments if you also like to widen your stash, broaden your collection, let's call it that. So now I'm going through one of the stamp sets for this month. This is not from the PL kit, but it's also available this month, and it was book kind of story themed. It had a few book elements in it, but there were some little phrases that I just thought were perfect. Sorry, I got my tongue tied then. I am loving using little stamped phrases lately, especially in my Traveller's notebook, because they're flat. Stamping has no dimension unless you use embossing powder, so it's a nice thing to include in your Traveller's notebook without the need for added bulk. I used this little camera and I grabbed one of the 6x8 papers from the kit, and I'm just cutting out and making my own little embellishment to stick on, just because I felt like I needed another pop of darker yellow to match that circle embellishment up the top there. So I'm just going to stick that on. I am part of a few Traveller's Notebook Facebook groups, and there was a question the other day where someone asked, if you include photos, how do you figure out where everything goes? And I thought it was a good question, because it made me reflect on my own process, and I seem to always do the exact same process, and I feel like it's not every process works for every person the same way. You have to tweak it to figure out what works for you, but this has really worked for me. So if you're stuck for ideas and you want to try this sort of scrap journaling, as I like to call it, I always stick my photos in first, just because they're usually the biggest item. Then I go for if I want any tip-ins with any little flip outs of PL cards. Then I go for my largest embellishment pieces. So here it was that pocket, or I might do a large sticker. Then I usually go for brush lettering because it takes up a lot of space and I can kind of fit it in between the embellishments. Then I add smaller things like this label and the tiny word stickers and stamping. Then I add my journaling, and then I do some doodling. So it is a bit of a process, but I find that once you get into the swing of things, it does kind of flow more naturally, and you can tweak it depending on what you'd like to include. If you don't want to do photos, just skip that step and move straight on to something else. I've been loving outlining my brush lettering lately. It's something that I can't stop doing. Now when I do brush lettering with these markers without outlining, I feel like it looks unfinished, and it doesn't look unfinished. It's just that the previous pages all have the outline, so I feel like it's missing something. I'm using a Pilot G2 pen because I know someone will message me and ask. It's my same pen that I've been using a lot lately. I did, however, buy a replacement for my favourite pen at the moment, and that's the Tiki, is it Rotring? I think that's the brand, Rotring. Tiki Graphic 0.2. So I bought a couple of those today. So you might see those pop up in some future journaling videos. I'm adding some journaling down here, and I didn't have to do too much actual journaling for this because I will be also documenting this holiday away in my normal scrapbook project life album. You will probably see some of these photos pop up over on my main channel, QUILL, in some scrapbooking process videos over the next few months. This was a trip that we took back in May, and the previous Journal With Me video is also about this trip as well. So now it is time to add as much journaling as I can possibly squeeze in. I'm enjoying doing more journaling, but I sometimes get a bit stuck about what to say and how to word it, especially if I'm doing some creating late at night when maybe my brain isn't working as best it could, or even now doing this voiceover, if I can get my sentences out straight. And so sometimes I'm tempted to do half the video and then film the journaling part the next day, or when I know that I'm filming videos, I try to start with these Journal With Me videos in the morning so that I can get my best brain work into words on my page. Does anyone else struggle with journaling, or do you feel comfortable with journaling? Let's do a bit of a journaling chat in the comments section. I've been watching a lot of Ali Edwards's videos lately on YouTube. When I say a lot, like 4, but I've been enjoying listening to her process of telling stories, and I love Heidi Swap. She also is big on the storytelling aspect. So that's something that I'm continuing to work on, but there are still pages that are just pretty for pretty's sake, and I think that's okay as well. I'm outlining some of these hearts, and then I felt like the top part of this right hand page was so heavy with the text and the pocket, and I felt like the bottom there was a bit too much white space, a bit too much, just seemed to be floating around a little bit there. So I started doing some little doodly bits and pieces, which are my favourite little designs to add into my Traveler's Notebook spreads. I love to do little dots and hearts and plus signs and stars. And then I did this kind of like a half border, a scribbly doodly half border, and I think it really just finished the page off, and I love the way that it looks, and I love the way that even though that periwinkle blue isn't the exact blue that's on Archie's bib, I think that it still really goes with those warm tones of his jacket and the yellow of the embellishments. I hope you enjoyed this video, guys. I am here on Let's Get Inkie every Friday with a process video for you, and sometimes during the week an extra one too. I do a video every Saturday and sometimes an extra video on my main channel, QUILL, and I also post 8 videos a month on my Patreon if you would like to head over there and have a look. All right, guys, I will see you in the next video. Have a lovely weekend. Bye.